In this episode of Off the Course, Hatty chats with Aiza, also known as the brand chef, founder of Studio Koya. All about turning ideas into deliciously strong brands. From getting made redundant to building a global business from Seoul, Aiza shares how to find your flavour in the world of branding, pricing your work with confidence, and use design to shape perception. Perfect for female founders, creatives, and business owners who want their brand to finally click. Hello and welcome to another episode of Off the Course. I'm really excited to dive in today. I'd love you to we'll go straight for it. Introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what you do, and then we'll jump in from there.
Amazing. So happy to be here. So I'm Aiza. I call myself the brand chef, also known as a brand designer. I run my branding studio, Studio Koya, and basically I help online service providers brand their signature offers so that they can stand out, and I help them sell their offers, hopefully like hotcakes.
Where did the brand chef come from?
So it came from when I decided to theme my brand with a food theme. So then everything basically in my branding revolves around food. And the reason why is because I love food. So,
Yeah.
and it was like, yeah, bring the two together, have some fun with it. And that's kind of become my way of helping me as well as my clients bring personality into their brands as well. It's just a fun way to do it.
No, I love it. And is that something that you carry through? Does every brand have food relation, or do you use themes? Is it different for everyone? How does that work?
It's different for everyone. Some brands might have more of an overt theme. So it's not food. It depends on like the client and what they love and what they resonate with. That always gets discovered through the strategy session that I have with clients. It's like, oh, what do you love? Like, can we put a theme in here? You know, we don't want to force it if it's not relevant. I always say like theming is part of a tool that we can use to help build our brand. So yeah, some clients have it, some clients don't. Some have a more overt theme, some have a more like they know in like behind the scenes that they have a theme kind of thing.
I think it's so interesting, and that was how I was actually introduced to you. A mutual friend had obviously said, you do themes, that is your bread and butter. I'm sticking with the theme.
Love it.
And I really love that. As someone who's had a couple of businesses, I find branding really confusing. We've had a few different branding experts on here talk about branding in different ways. But actually, when you and I spoke, it kind of clicked with me. I thought, actually, this makes sense to me and how this works. So, What's your background? How have you become who you are and what you do today? Were you always in branding, or you accidentally landed here?
So basically, my whole life has been leading up to design. So
Okay.
I did, I did art, I did business back in high school, and then it was like, well, I want to be creative, but I also want to make money, so where can I do that? So it was graphic design. Did that in uni, and then basically hopped on the corporate agency ladder. So I did some corporate stuff, always in design, and then I went into a couple of agencies and did that for a few years as well. So then after that, I got made redundant. Best thing that ever happened to me. I had booked a holiday to Thailand and Hong Kong, and we were like, you know what? Let's just go for 3 weeks, see what happens when we get back. And once I got back, I started freelancing, and then that's when I guess the business side of it started to evolve and change. And over time, I focused and narrowed in on branding. So yeah, that's my journey into
No,
it.
it makes sense, and I think we hear this more often than not. Actually, as you know, I was made redundant as well, and I think that is forcing people to make that jump. Where, especially in the marketing world, I know it's a big umbrella. Marketing's always the first to go, but it should always be the last to go. So I think that ends up with the creatives, and I think we're all slightly mad in our own little way, which probably helps.
Yeah, exactly. And I've always wanted to do like to hop out and have my own business, but it's just I'm very risk averse, so I needed the push to be like, you know what, here you go, it's the universe telling you go and see what happens and see if you can do it. Yeah.
It's really interesting because a lot of founders would say they're the opposite. Where does that come from? You're kind of risk averse. Is that something that people around you are the same, or?
Yeah, I think it's just upbringing, it's always like get a job, be stable, do the best you can, like, and then move up from there kind of thing. But I've always had that like, oh, business is quite interesting. I had a side business. So at first I was selling prints that I designed on Etsy. So I had a little side hustle going on there while I was in a full-time job. And then once I started my business, I don't know. I just guess I like businesses and starting new things. I also had like an earring business where I made earrings during COVID. So yeah, that was also another creative outlet. Yeah, it was always something that I was really interested in doing and like trying to figure out all the different facets of running a business. And I also love the freedom that can come with running your own business as well. That was always very, very attractive to me.
I think it's really interesting talking to different founders. I had a conversation literally this morning with another founder saying, do I work weekends? And I said, I actually am really strict that I don't work Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, and I put a post out this morning on LinkedIn. I don't check my emails Monday mornings. It's Monday afternoon because I work Fridays and I work Saturdays because my
Right.
partner works Saturdays in his job. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
Nothing has landed in my inbox in that time between Saturday night and Monday morning that's that important. Excuse me. And that freedom, I never associated that with running a business because I didn't want to. I always said,
Yeah.
I'm going to be the CEO of someone else's business. I'm going to drive around in my big, nice car. I'm going to have nice, lovely holidays. I'm just going to run their business for them.
Yeah.
That was my end goal. I wanted to, like, on the side of that, I wanted to work for the most amount of money, but for the least amount of time. So it was probably never going to marry up anyway. But I do love hearing kind of different people's views on the flexibility because
Yeah.
with that flexibility comes inflexibility, really. Like, what does your work week look like with your clients? Are you fairly flexible with your clients, or do you have a fairly strict schedule?
Well, I am very flexible. So we talked about this before previously, but I live in Seoul in South Korea at the moment. So, but then a lot of my clients are international. I've worked with people in the States, and mostly in the UK because my business is still based in the UK. So when I moved here, an unexpected perk was that everyone was still asleep while I was awake. So I could do whatever I wanted in the day. So for me, I guess it depends on how you like to work. Like I'm pretty flexible in terms of like I don't mind working weekends or putting an hour here or there. It just depends on what I've got on in terms of client work versus also working in my business as well. So I make it as flexible as I'd like, I guess is the answer to that question. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it and like I can travel whenever I want as well. So yeah, that's been a really, really good thing for me.
And how long did it take you from being made redundant to getting to a point where you had that flexibility? Because I think on social media, we see a lot of these, influencers, or we see a lot of, again, it's often marketers that do have the flexibility to travel, saying, oh, I travel the world, you can do it too. But actually, we miss that middle step for me personally, where the first year I could not have traveled. I was chained to my desk 7 days a week, making sure I could find any client that could possibly work with me and delivering, bending over backwards. I was replying to emails at 1 o'clock in the morning in fear that
Mm.
they'd fire me if I didn't. So, how long did that process take you, or were you a bit more controlled than I was?
Well, I could completely get that. I think I was probably like a year in as well, something like that. So my first maybe year,
Yeah.
I was actually going into client their workspaces and like slotting in as a team member while I
Wow.
was when I was freelancing because I went through recruiters and I was in London, so like that was I guess the easiest way for me to get jobs. And
Yeah.
then slowly I built my own roster of clients, like I started showing up like and building my business. So I mean I've been in the business for nearly 7 years now, so it's been it's been a long time and a lot of evolving. And I think the key is to figure out how you yourself want to work. So I slowly changed my offers or changed the way I delivered things to my clients and my processes and like how I structure my packages based on how I want it to work. So I
Okay.
tell my clients up front, like, it's async, like I don't have set working hours, but things are going to be delivered to you, at this time. It's going to take this long. And like,
Yeah.
so then I can manage my time within the project time frame without having to, like you said in your words, like being chained to my desk. Like I found it really difficult for a while when I had that type of client, like a retainer client. I was like, I'm only working a certain amount of hours for them, but because I had no set boundaries for myself or the client, I felt like I was chained to my desk, just waiting, like, is anything gonna come in today? Like, oh, and then I have to hop on it like straight away. So,
Right.
yeah, exactly. So I've kind of phased that out
Okay.
and slowly developed it. Like, I work in branding sprints, so my sprints are 7 days. That's how I work with clients, and once I book them, that's it. Like, your that week is yours, kind of thing.
Wow, that's so
So
interesting.
yeah, so I just changed it so that I can work the best way I can, and like, yeah, so that I can deliver the best as well. So
That's definitely, I think, the key. So I'm kind of the opposite. I am phasing
mhm,
out some of those that I have to visit. But I will take on, I know how many hours I work a week. And then I have basically the hours slotted. So then if you want 6 hours that week, you get filled that many hours. And so I'll have, say, 7 or 8 clients at one time, three of which
mhm.
might be retainers. And then the other ones fill in the gaps as I go each month. So I think that's so cool to have the sprints. And what would someone get if they were to hire you? What does what does that involve if they have that 7 day sprint with you?
Yeah, so my signature offer is called the Offer Oven. So that's where I brand offers. And basically, like day one is we have a strategy session, and then day 2 to 5 is me developing the creative direction, start designing things, and then we go back and forth on Slack asynchronously. Sometimes I record videos to explain my decisions or like, tie it back to what we talked about in the strategy. And then by the end of it, they get brand guidelines, all the files that they need, and then some design examples as well to showcase how the brand is in use. So yeah, so that's how it works.
How long did it take you to, do you think, get the right pricing? I think this is something that women especially struggle with. What would your advice be to someone starting, building their business in terms of pricing? Where do they start? How did that work for you?
I mean, I think that's a very difficult question. It's a bit of what you're comfortable charging. I think it's, people are like, oh, charge your worth, but also you have to be comfortable to be able to ask for that price confidently as well. I think that piece comes across when you're talking to potential clients and your audience. It's like you got to stand behind your price as well. So it's trying to find that balance. Okay, it might be at first you work out how much you want to charge per hour, but then I don't advertise like an hourly rate. That's just for my internal like brain to figure out, okay, this is how much I kind of want to make. But then again, I also want to look at my whole package, what I deliver, and how it can transform my clients' lives.
Yes.
And yeah, there's trial and error. You test it. I always say don't start too high. You can always go up a lot easier. But then again, you can always come back down as well, if it's not working for you. So just try it. Basically, I think that's the main thing. Don't be too scared to change things up.
I do think that's actually really good advice. I do think it's working out where you want to sit in the market as well. As I said, when I first started, I was recommended to someone by someone else, and they were a huge fintech business
Mm,
running out of Canary Wharf, and I was unemployed, in debt, just moved home, twice redundant, 23-year-old, like in my dad's office. And I thought, I don't know what to ask them for. I have no idea
mm,
what I'm worth. Up here, my salary before that had been £30,000. And I thought, well, I guess that's what I'm worth. And it was only when I started researching to hire me that I realized that I could be charging 4 times that. And I think it's so interesting you've picked up on be comfortable with it, because in complete transparency, I asked for £4,000 a month, and I remember sitting there sweating
Mm,
profusely. They would have
yeah.
seen it. Very lucky. They are amazing. The company I worked with are phenomenal. They are so kind. They gave me so much advice, and they must have known. And looking back now, I wish I recorded my call, because it was like, £4,000, please.
Yeah.
Like, I'd worked in a sales job my whole life. I had sold startups, but it had never been my personal value.
Yeah.
And yeah, I came off that call literally soaked. And I thought, oh my God, I never want to do that again. So I did. I mean, they negotiated me down to 3,000, and I was happy to sing my way to the bank on that. That was amazing for me. But I do think it's really tough to be
Yeah.
comfortable with these prices. That if you're working at that top end, great. But now, so as I work with a lot of startups, I don't ask startups for 4,000. They don't have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It really depends on the clientele that you have, what's the engagement, how long are you going to work with them for? Like, it depends on the project, and also the expertise required for that project, right? Sometimes, like, for example, sometimes I just do artworking, and then, that's you know, less skill, less brain power, less design thinking versus a branding project where I have to dig into the strategy, and it's like a completely different ball game. So I guess you just need to know what you're serving up so that you can price it accordingly. And it is you get more, you understand a bit more how you want to price and what you want to get from it over time. Like, again, it also depends on the client. Sometimes you're like, I would love to work with this particular client, so budget doesn't even matter, like, here, sometimes you get those types of projects, and then sometimes you're like, well, it's, I don't, it might not be the perfect project, but for this price I would do it. So there's lots of things to consider, I guess, when you're looking at that and feeling good about it as
yeah,
well. Yeah,
no,
I mean,
that
a little bit of uncomfortable, like, is always good. That
agreed.
means you're pushing yourself and moving forward.
Make sure you've got loads of fans on.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, for example, say that I am a potential new client for you, and I ring you up and I say, look, I don't even know where to start. All I have is £1,000. Where do I put it with my branding? Where would you recommend someone? What is the fundamental that they should start with, that the rest they could come back to later?
Oh, that is a good question. In terms of branding, I guess I think it's figure out what you need your branding to do for you first and foremost. I would value a consultant call, like a strategy call, over getting something designed for you. That's a difficult question because it's kind of like you need to know what you're about before you can choose what type of branding you want, right? So it might be that, like, you think about that yourself, or you figure out, like, get a worksheet or a course or something to figure that out for yourself, and then you can either work with a designer, work with a brand designer, or you can buy something, a template off the shelf. But without that initial bit of knowledge or just even knowing, I think you'd be wasting money
Okay.
just buying something visual, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
No,
Yeah.
that makes complete sense. No, that's so useful. I did that, exactly that. I bought a visual and now don't use it. And that's
Yeah.
really just money burnt, frankly.
Yeah. I mean, we all have to start somewhere, right? Like, so I think, and we also, our businesses change over time. So, it probably worked for you for the first few years, even. And then you can then reevaluate. So I think there's no, like, wrong way. It depends on where you are along the journey. If you're just starting out and you just need something visual, yeah, just get DIY it, find something on Canva. Like, I don't have grief about, like, I don't feel like it's a wrong thing to do. I think once you're a bit more established, you then have reasons for your design looking, for your branding to look a certain way. So I think that's, yeah. So it depends on where you are in terms of your business.
So you've touched on something there that I wanted to talk about. You hear a lot of designers criticizing Canva, Canva templates, Canva logos. If somebody is day dot, we've all been there. We've got no budget. We just need to make a start. Not all of us are starting a graphic design business. Is there anything that you would advise if they're using a Canva template, or someone sat looking at Canva, typed in logos on Pinterest? What's something they just should absolutely avoid?
I would go for something simple. Don't go for something that's too complicated, that's too difficult for you to use, or you don't know how to use it, or it's not applicable. Like, if there's too many bells and whistles on your logo, and then it won't go on a certain background and things like that. So I would try and keep it as simple as possible, and also make sure that it's usable for you. Like, the main thing with branding is you got to use it. Otherwise, it's money down the drain or it's time down the drain. Again, start somewhere and then develop from there. I think that would be my advice.
This episode is brought to you by me, Orloon. We've got something seriously exciting coming. The Orloon app. It's nearly here. The only tool new founders will ever need to build global brands. From finding collaborators, co-founders, accessing experts, events, tools, and community, it's all going to be in one place for you. You can sign up now at allloonuk.com to be the first to trial it before anyone else. Trust me, it's going to be amazing. No, I think that's really good. I think it's really hard when you are starting and you're hearing on TikTok that you can easily spot a Canva logo, and logos on Canva are rubbish, and if you do your branding on Canva, your business is going to fail. So I do think there's this pressure to spend thousands, and like you said, if you don't really know, and I don't think if you've created a business by accident, I don't think you necessarily always know what you want the business to be or feel or serve.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I normally work with people who have been in business 3 to 5 years maybe, and they're like, okay, I have established myself in a certain way now, so I want to look the part. That's the main thing, right? We want the branding to serve a purpose, and this is a purpose. We want it to help you come across the way you want to come across, because a brand is someone's perception of you. So branding is how we try and influence people's perception of you. That's what it's there for. So that's what we want to do with it. And when you're first starting out, like you said, you don't really know. You start somewhere, you think obviously you want to choose as close to what you know as possible. That's why the foundation, I think, is important. Just like, how do you want people to feel when they come across you? Maybe a few personality words or something. So then when you're looking, you're like, oh, does this feel like what I want it to feel like? Just as a gut feel gauge. But then after that, when you're ready to be like, okay, I think I'm getting there now. Like, I want to get onto the, I guess, show my expertise in a certain way. Then it might be time to see if a brand designer can help you.
That's a little bit more.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the rise of AI, do you think AI can help you discover kind of your brand personality? Do you think that it's kind of watering us all down, or do you think it can actually be a useful tool?
I think, again, it's a tool, so it's just as good as how you want to use it. And I'm not an AI expert, so but people have prompts, and I guess it's how you prompt it as well, and telling it what to do and what not to do also when you're trying to find out that stuff about your business. And I guess look at it with a critical eye from your own point of view, to see if it's just telling you stuff that you want it to tell you, or if it's like, okay, yeah, this feels like who I am. I guess I find it a really useful tool to just brain dump, put all my thoughts in there, and then it's like, okay, unjumble this mess. Like, what do you see within it? And that's how I would use it. Yeah, and I do it for my clients, as in not use AI, but I am the outside brain that when we talk about the strategy, talk about your business, how do you want to come across? And then I get to untangle, filter out, pick out good nuggets that we can use for the visual side of their branding.
Okay. So,
yeah.
I found that if I talk to AI, whether it's ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever it is, that I get a much better result, because I think I can get more out. Whereas when you're typing, I think you naturally censor yourself. So
Yeah.
you use it, I have it open all the time and I'll triple check things on there. But when it came to my branding, I absolutely did most of it myself. I knew when I'd done Orloon, I had already done Uko, and I'd been
Mm-hmm.
through the year mark with Uko and reshuffled it. I knew what I want Uko to represent and feel, and that was great. So I kind of was able to transfer that. But what was really interesting was actually the use of colors. I went pink and yellow, and I was like, yep, super simple, easy. I know what they mean, I know what they feel, blah, blah, blah. And I put everything into AI and was like, here you go, when I was sending off all the things for my website. And it came back and
Mm-hmm.
it literally did say the pink and yellow were rubbish. I was like, oh, wow, okay. So I said to the developer doing my website, okay, these colors are clearly, they're not working, but they are true. And we went through a whole process of just the colors. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot believe I think you don't think things apply to you. The red of Coca-Cola is Coca-Cola. We all know it.
Mm-hmm.
Tiffany blue, and even brands like Perfect Head, they have the green, and you just know that that's branding. I never thought that would apply, so I kind of figured, oh, it's not that important. But when you're looking at a client, how important would you say to someone, your both of your colors are rubbish, we're starting again? Or do you think because they've picked them that they should be involved?
Depends. I
Okay.
think some people are really attached to certain colors. So, you can make any color work. It depends what you want to use it for, right? Again, it needs to align with the strategy. Like if you want to look, you know, girly and vibrant and fun and playful, then, a deep dark pink might not be the right pink, but you might want to choose a slightly different shade of pink. I don't know. Or, pink might not even be the right type of style. We can make blue look girly. We can make purple look girly. It can be anything. It's just using it in the right way. And I guess that's where the nuance of understanding the whole brand and seeing it come together as a whole before you choose, like, solidify those things. And yeah, that's where a designer, I guess, comes into play, because they'll be able to visualize it probably in their head, and then they'll be like, no, wait, trust me, like, we can make this work, like, this is how we'll do it. And this is, you can utilize different things like your fonts or your imagery to bring out different types of feelings, so it all works together. So if it's one color, if someone's really married to it, or if someone like really hates a certain color, that's always doable. There are so many ways in terms of visually to work around all of these things.
And do you think that, I feel like I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway, that people should follow there's a saying, if everyone's zigging, you should zag. So if you search for any tech company, it's blue. Every tech company is either blue or has something blue in it. You look at Facebook, even Instagram's now got blue in it. Everything does. I've worked for 3 different tech companies. All of them were a shade of blue. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think it's the case that you should do the opposite, or do you think they're blue for a reason?
They're blue for a reason, and it comes back down to, what do you want to zag for? Right? Like, if you want a certain feeling, they use blue for a reason. It feels a certain way to people when they see it. But again, there are so many different types of blue. You can have like a really bright cobalt blue, and then you've got like a really subtle soft blue. And then it depends on how you use it. You can use it in gradients. You can use it like as a really bold pop of color. So it's a really difficult question to answer. And I don't necessarily think just because everyone's doing something or using a certain color, you need to go like completely opposite. Because yes, you want to stand out, but you don't want to stand out in the wrong way, especially if like a color or a font choice is telling someone the wrong message. Then when you show up and like deliver your client work, your brand and you like can like just not match at all, and then you'll be like, okay, well, my client is getting a really like misaligned experience, so we don't want that either. So yeah, it's figuring that out.
It's so interesting because, like I say, we do hear it all the time that you have to disrupt the industry, you have to make waves, you have to be different. So I think it's really interesting to actually hear someone go, no, you really don't.
Yeah. And there's so many ways to be different as well. Like, for example, the theming that I love doing, that is very different. There's no brand designer really out there that I know of that uses like the food theme that I do. And that's the way I stand out. Like, my colors aren't unique. That, brand designers, I guess, don't really have their own color palette per se, because it's not like
No,
a specific industry. But at the same time, it's like there's so many different things you can use within branding to help you stand out.
yeah.
Whether it's your messaging, whether it's visuals, whether it's photography, yeah, there's lots of different ways, and also a combination of different ways as well. Just because you might not stand out in terms of your color, maybe it's the way you use it with, your photography that makes it really interesting, for example. So, yeah.
No, I like that. And if there's a brand designer listening and they're looking at starting, what would you want to say to them in terms of going looking for clients? How did you find yours? I'm very referral based. I'm 98% referrals, but for branding, is it different? What would your advice be?
It's also referrals.
Yeah.
Do a lot of networking. If you're just starting out, my first clients were basically referrals from people that I knew. I just asked everyone that I knew. It's like, I'm going out doing my own thing now. I am going to start my own company and start designing. If you know anyone that needs any design work, let them know. Like, I'd love an introduction, that kind of thing. And then I guess once you have that established, some sort of clientele, it's also a case of being visible and showing your work. And,
Yeah.
7 years in, I'm still like, I need to show my work. I need to show my work.
Um,
And it's the balance between the two. Like, yes, networking is really, really helpful. People build rapport, like people connect with people. So we want that. But then branding is there for a reason, right? Like, just generally, because people also, they can see you, whether it's referral or not. They look at your website or your socials or, a photo of you, and have they create or they form an impression. So we want to be able to form a good impression. So, if we're showing up somewhere, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever it may be, we want people to see like that side of us. Um, and yeah, and I've also connected with great people on social media by showing my work, but also talking to people on social media as well. Yeah, so that's also how I get work.
I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head. Talking to people, I think, especially on LinkedIn, which is now quite, I'd say it's kind of an up and coming. We're getting a lot busier with people of our generation, and it's no longer, Simon started a new job and Grace
Yeah.
started. It really is a whole personality hub, which is amazing. It's so much less threatening. But reaching out across all platforms and just messaging people, I get messages saying from complete strangers like, "Hey, can I just pick your brains on X?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." Or can we have a virtual call? And they just want to show me what they do. I show them what they do, and you've got that cross referral. Then I'm a
Yeah.
big, and I'd love to know your opinions on this. I don't believe in referral fees for marketers. I
Hmm.
don't ever charge a referral fee. I don't take a referral fee. If I've connected, there was a graphic designer locally who connected with me. I had someone who wanted somebody local who they could go in to see. So just, there you go, on the assumption that one day she may hand it back. But I know that that is a trust. I think if you're being paid, you lose some of that trust. Um,
Hmm.
so I'd love to know your opinion on referral fees.
So I've trialed it
Mm.
before. I go back and forth. I think sometimes it is nice for, the thing is, I don't offer referral. I'd never offered referral fees to someone that like I didn't know personally or worked with personally. So it's more, okay, you're my business pal. Like, I if you know anyone, like, I'd love to give you a kickback kind of thing, and no pressure, but it's always nice. Like, I feel like it's a little reciprocal thing that I can do, but sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. Like, as in, I had periods of time where I offered it to them, and then now I don't, and it's not like made a huge it's not like, oh my gosh, like I get so many referrals and I have to pay out so much, that kind of thing. So I think you're right in saying that, like, if I wanted to refer someone to you, I already know what you do. So yes, I can refer you and I don't really expect anything back
Yeah.
from it unless like it's the right fit or, whatever that may be. So I don't really have a strong opinion either way, to be honest.
No, I know. I think that's really interesting, especially having it only in place with people that you know. I've not
Yeah.
had it like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that with people that either I don't know or not worked with, because I think then that comes into like the disingenuous territory. It's like, oh well, this person doesn't even know what I do. How are they going to be advocates for me to tell people like I'm good at my job, basically? So yeah, that would be my feeling around that part of it for sure.
That. So
Yeah.
I would love to finish off with my final two questions. There's an easy one and a more difficult one. Which would you prefer first?
Let's go for the difficult one.
Yeah, most people choose that one
Yeah.
first. So what is something that you don't know currently that you feel that maybe you should know or that there's a pressure for you to know? It can be anything business related at all.
Hmm.
Or do you just know everything?
I'd love to say that, yes, I know everything now. I am done. I mean, there's lots that I don't know. I think this is really
It's hard.
difficult.
It is a really hard one.
Yeah, I think the thing that I don't know, I would probably say figuring out business, because business changes so much, and understanding when to figure out when you're doing it for yourself and like for building your business versus just taking in what people are saying and doing what you think you should be doing. Yeah. So I've just come out of that phase of like, oh, I should be doing this. And I was like head down, focusing on something. And I started retreating and not showing up and like, feeling quite disconnected from my own business. And I'm just like, what is happening here? And just for me, I'm like, oh, I wish I knew, or I wish I understood how to know that I was trying to hit down the wrong door. Is that the right
Yeah.
analogy? Yeah. So I
Yeah.
was banging on the wrong door. So it was like, oh, okay. It took like, 6 to 8 months for me to kind of realize that I needed to step back and be like, wait, this is not working for me, and this is why, and this is how I need to change things up. But yeah, if I can have that radar better, and how, figuring out how to work on that radar better, because there's so many different aspects of business that can change, and you're like, but which one is the thing that's like stopping me and blocking me, and like, why am I feeling this disconnection? I think knowing that would be really helpful.
No, I'm absolutely with you there. And I do think there's a lot of pressure from even when you're at networking events to the old comparisons, the thief of joy. It is so
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it comes back to what I was saying earlier about like, how do you want to work? Right? Flexible means different things to different people. Like for me, flexible is like, oh, I can, travel, or I can, not wake up to an alarm kind of thing. But then not all people are going to be like having calls at 8 o'clock in the evening, right? Whereas for me, I'm like, oh, this is great. Like I'm a night owl, so I love it. So it's figuring out how you want to work. And for me, some people might be like, oh, I love retainer clients. I want to have that consistent income, my set hours, like I'm good with that kind of structure, and that feels flexible to me. For me, it's like, oh, that makes me feel tied to my desk even when my calendar's not full. Like I'm like, oh no, what do I do? Like I feel like I'm stuck. So being able to figure that out,
figure out what's
and
right for you.
yeah, figure out what's right for you is a lifelong
Yeah.
lifelong thing. I mean, I've been in business for 7 years now, so it's still going, and things change, like, development, how you evolve, what your life.
My final question, and I ask everybody this, say for example, I've just landed in Seoul, I give you a call, I'm on my way to your house, I'm going to stop by a coffee shop. What am I bringing? What do you drink?
Oh, oh, matcha
Matcha.
latte, please. Oat milk.
Okay, love it. Standard.
Hot.
No.
Yes. No sweetener, nothing, just matcha powder and oat milk, please.
I love that. I drink, if I am having a warm matcha, I have it with coconut milk and that's it. And everyone thinks it's really weird that I don't have any of the syrups.
Yeah, I never put anything in my matcha. I mean, to be honest, if I'm at home making my own matcha, I don't even put any milk in it. It's just matcha powder, ceremonial grade, please, ceremonial grade matcha and water, and that is it. And oh my gosh, I don't know if you've seen, I just posted on Threads recently that the place that I get my matcha from, they don't do the big pouches anymore. So I'm like, I need to find a new supplier. Yeah, I mean, it's like there's a global shortage is real. I think they needed to hoard it for themselves because they're a cafe as well. So I think they needed to keep it for themselves.
For them.
So,
the plant
yeah, because it's locally grown and everything. So
now's a good time to invest in matcha.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that was definitely my drink of choice.
That's a great choice. I agree with that. I've just had a matcha, so I'll take that. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This has been amazing. It's been so insightful. I've really enjoyed talking to you again. So thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Find you if we want to follow you.
Yeah, if you want to find me, it's Studio Koya, so Coya. I'm on Instagram. You can DM me if you have any questions or just want to chat. I'm also on LinkedIn, Aiza Chung, and yeah, that's basically where I hang out.
Amazing. We'll make sure to add the links below. But for now, just thank you very much. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Bye. There we go.
Thanks so much for listening to All In Off the Course, the space where women building businesses don't do it alone. If you loved today's episode, make sure to hit subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with a fellow founder who needs to hear this. I'm Hattie, and I'll see you next time.